question we're asking today is whether capital punishment should be allowed in the United States. Capital punishment is the legal authorized killing of someone as punishment for a crime. Now on to our question. Should someone be put to death for an extreme act of violence in which it is determined that they should have their life ended? Or on the other hand, should they spend the rest of their life living out their sentence in prison? The first side of the argument we're going to be covering is why capital punishment should be allowed in the United States. The term an eye for an eye comes into play when debating this issue. According to George Brochler, in very few cases, for the worst of the worst, sometimes justice is death. The repeal of the death penalty would treat all murderers the same without taking into account the severity of the crime. Theoretically, if a drug dealer murders 2, 3, even 12 people and tortures and rapes them after or before, or a serial killer kills 27 people, or a terrorist attacks and kills 34 people, they would all face the same punishment, life in prison without parole. Once one murder occurs, the rest are freebies without the death penalty in place. That is not justice, is what Brochler stated about this. Paul Mushik said sometimes there is no doubt that people are killers because their sins are recorded by surveillance cameras or bystanders' phones. With that evidence, other than mental illness, there is no reason not to execute those who commit the most horrific crimes. Some crimes are so horrific that the capital punishment is a necessary evil to gain justice against those who committed the crime. Another argument for the death penalty is that it reduces money spent on the criminal justice system. Keeping an inmate in maximum security prison costs $60,000 a year, and that burden falls on the taxpayers who will have to pay it and take care of the criminals who have committed horrible crimes. The other side of the argument is that capital punishment is unconstitutional. Capital punishment requires one person to kill another. This means that the person who performs capital punishment commits a murder. Another problem that comes with the death penalty is the risk that the person who gets executed was innocent. For the past 10 years, 150 people were taken off of death row due to the evidence surfacing which proved their innocence to the crime they were convicted of. If someone was given capital punishment and they turned out to be innocent, the justice system would have just put to death an innocent human being. Also, it's expensive to administer capital punishment. It costs an average of $1.26 million to bring someone to trial over the death penalty. In addition to this, some people also don't like the idea of an easy escape for criminal monsters. People whose families have been murdered and lives destroyed want the person who committed the crime to rot in prison and suffer as much as they have. In conclusion, there are many positive and negative consequences when it comes to capital punishment. People differ on their opinions on it, and each state has different regulations when it comes to the death penalty. Our country coming together on one solid opinion on this topic is unlikely due to how many sides of the argument it has. Thank you for watching our informational video on capital punishment.